The four behavioral patterns resulting from non-integrated trauma. When trauma occurs and is not recognized, not processed, and is not integrated in our body, mind, and spirit, four behavioral patterns tend to result. Not all people with non-integrated trauma develop all four behavioral patterns. One or two tend to manifest primarily. This can depend on context, however. There are times when a person shifts to a behavior they normally wouldn't exhibit as a coping mechanism specific to that situation. Most of us have heard of the first two such behavioral responses to non-integrated trauma: fight or flight. The fight behavioral response is marked by excessive defensiveness, aggression, confrontation, and anger. The person, when their trauma is triggered, goes on the attack. They move to eliminate the threat by forcibly asserting control. An example is a former CEO I know who was traumatized by the employees choosing to unionize under their watch, regardless of any and all efforts to please them. From that point on, that CEO saw everything through the lens of conflict. For the next decade, this person was at odds with every union representative and subordinate they managed. The urge to fight as a means to control due to non-integrated trauma was overwhelming, to the detriment of the people around the CEO and the organization itself. On the other hand, the hallmark of the flight behavioral response is to run, to get out of the situation. When the person's non-integrated trauma is triggered, they will simply leave, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and/or physically. They can dissociate from their bodies and minds, can reject themselves as a means of rejecting the pain they feel, can seek to find solace in addictions in order to numb the pain. They can end up wandering, never settling down, find themselves unable to commit to a partner or season of life, or even a job. I believe many people manage their non-integrated trauma this way and don't even know it. The last two behavioral response patterns are less well known, but equally powerful in their own way. The freeze response mirrors the way trauma is frozen within our nervous system. The person simply cannot move forward in life. They are frozen in time, so to speak. The fear of being hurt again is so powerful that a person chooses, mostly unconsciously, to not risk again. This can apply to relationships, jobs, participation, and membership in community groups, such as religious organizations. The greatest sign of someone manifesting this pattern is that they are not able to commit continually and perpetually. They simply do not feel safe enough within themselves to dare to move forward. The fourth behavioral pattern resulting from non-integrated trauma is fawn. When someone always says yes and agrees to others' wishes all the time, when they fear conflict and appropriate confrontation and avoid it at all costs, when they become timid and withdrawn next to a strong personality, the person is behaving like a fawn, hiding away so as not to attract any predators. It's a way to not attract attention to themselves and thus avoid danger. They will habitually defer to another person and may develop deep anger held against themselves and others for not letting them express their true thoughts and intentions. This behavioral pattern is subtle but destructive nonetheless. The person is robbed of walking in their true destiny and power and live in a perpetual state of fear. The feeling of inevitability, that things will simply be as they are with no hope for change. Powerlessness and feelings of a lack of control often lead to high levels of anxiety and depression. Hope, peace, joy, and fulfillment are concepts impossible to experience. All four behavioral patterns are coping mechanisms for unresolved trauma. The presence of any one of these patterns does not mean a person has failed. If a person manifests one or more of these patterns over time, it means there is a trauma of some type that needs to be recognized, processed, and integrated. A person found a way to cope with the trauma they experienced. This is to be celebrated. But the coping mechanism cannot be the long-term answer. We are not made to work that way. It takes courage to recognize we have trauma hidden within. It takes even more courage to do something about it.